Hello and welcome to the Rock Your Voice podcast. Vocal coaching tips that will transform your voice, interviews that will inspire, industry guidance, and so much more. Without further ado, let's get on with the show. Oh, this one's a doozy. I'm so excited to have this firecracker on the podcast. I've attended just a few sort of online masterclass seminar things with Michele recently, and the minute I heard her speaking, I'm like, she knows what she's talking about, and her attitude is just everything. I just think she's phenomenal. So today's guest is Michele Vice-Maslin. She is an Emmy award-winning #1 hit music producer. She's a music arranger, a songwriter, publisher, public speaker, as well as a mentor and coach specializing in the area of sync licensing and music placement. And this is something that just fascinates me, and a lot of people have been asking me lately, and especially with all the artist development I've been doing, you know, how do we get music out there even more than like just on the radio? How do we get it into TV, into shows and commercials, all those things? So Michele knows her stuff. Michele was kind enough to join me and talk all about this topic, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Hi there.
How are you?
Thanks. How are you?
I'm good. I'm so excited to chat with you. This is fantastic. Yeah, so I wanted to kind of pick your brains all about sync licensing and all of that stuff. And I don't know if it's just me because I've been trying to educate myself more about it lately, or whether it's just becoming more of a topic that musicians are starting to try and educate themselves more about, whether it's something that's becoming more popular, and I don't know if it's me or not, but I seem to be hearing a lot of things about it, and a lot of educational things for singers and musicians about it. So I was thinking, why don't we start right at the beginning, like how you got into music and how you ended up taking the sync licensing route. When did you discover music? How did this all kick off for you?
Oh, I discovered music when I was 2 years old. I've always wanted to be involved in music. I've always wanted to make music, to sing, to do it as a career. When I knew what a career was, I've never wanted to do anything else, and my path is not veered, and so that's forever. Like nice. My father will tell you, forever.
I love it. Did you have a musical family, or was it something you kind of just discovered that you just were just a musical being? That was just who you were.
Yes, well, I did have a bit of a musical family. Singing wise, my grandmother was a child star.
Okay.
Jewish theater.
Okay.
And she was billed as the 8-year-old wonder child.
Oh.
And so she sang and performed, and it was very much her passion.
Love it.
And passed it on to my mother, who also sang, but my mother had terrible stage fright and didn't take it anywhere.
Okay.
Mostly because she had opportunity, and her mother gave her opportunity, but she would hide under a sofa and sing.
Bless.
She was very, so I think that was a sadness for her.
Yeah.
For my grandmother, when she became of age, her parents made her stop because they felt it wasn't respectful for a young woman to be performing. And that was very sad, because that was also a sadness in my grandmother's life, that was her passion.
Wow.
And so I did come from that. My father is an artist, a graphic artist and a visual artist, a painter. I didn't inherit that. Yeah. And he's good to have around because I hire him to do all my graphics.
Yeah. I love it. I am terrible at art myself. Yeah. So
Can't draw a stick figure. Yeah. But even at 89, I still call him up and have him design whatever artwork is needed. So he's really very handy.
Excellent. Yeah. I love that. So when did you start writing music? Because obviously, like, when we're going to dig into this, you have a huge catalog of music, but when did you start writing?
Well, I started writing poetry first, like I think a lot of pre-teenagers and kids do, you know. And I must have been around 7 or 8. And then when I was 11 and I started getting heartbroken by boys, I started writing more.
Right.
And I wrote my first song, I maybe was around 13.
Nice.
And pulled out a guitar that I couldn't really play, but I pretended to. And yeah, just like the same reason that all of us do it, I
Yeah.
think, is that we're unhappy, we're miserable, we're teenagers, we're
Yes.
heartbroken, we have things to get out.
Yes.
And that's how I started with the writing.
Love
But
it.
I was always singing.
Okay.
And the writing really took over.
When did you sort of learn, hey, this is a career for me. This is something that I can start to survive on and thrive on. So when did that turning point happen?
Well, that was actually quite late, and no one's ever asked me quite that question. And I've been interviewed a lot, so that's really cool. Thank you.
Awesome.
So I was performing
Uh-huh.
in bands in high school, and we got paid, and I pretended to go to college and joined the band and made a living
Nice.
playing in the band then. So I got paid, and I wrote a little bit for the band, but not much. Mostly we did covers, 4 to 6 sets a night. So we worked like 9 to 1 or 9 to 3 a.m. and we made a living. And then when I finally realized that songwriting was a career,
Yeah.
I was probably close to 30.
Okay. Okay.
So it was very late because I wanted to be a singer writing my own music for me. And I had a friend who had a publishing deal,
Right.
and I really didn't quite understand what she did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I didn't quite understand that concept of writing songs for other people. And I had my first song recorded by another artist, which was also a sing.
Right.
And that was in 1987.
Okay.
And then I got paid. The wheels were kind of turning.
Yeah.
Because I was still singing in a band as an artist.
Right.
And then I was waiting tables. It took me quite a while when I had a hit song, and I was almost 30, and I got a publishing deal to be a songwriter. And all of a sudden I became a pop songwriter, an R&B songwriter. But the music that I did for myself was like Bjork. It was very weird.
Okay.
Art. It was not commercial at all.
Yeah.
And I had films and slides and actors and reciting poetry and painting their nails and hanging from stretchers. And it was so thinking about it, because you're asking me this and no one's really asked me this before, I really had no clue that being a professional songwriter was a career path for me. I fell into it. I just became it.
That is so cool. And it's so fascinating because did you find it easier to write for other people than to create the art and the music and everything you were doing for yourself?
No, not necessarily. No. I loved writing, and I still love that. I actually love producing even more than writing.
Amazing.
But I don't think I thought it was easier. I thought they were paying me.
Right.
And that was, at that time, probably my motivation and my awakening was that there was money.
Right.
Because, when you're performing, when you're in a cover band, you make money. When you do covers, that's the gig, you make money.
Yeah.
But when you start doing your own original music, you usually don't make any money.
Yeah.
And now I'm almost 30, and actually by then 30, and was starting to make money writing songs.
That's so cool.
Right? I was like thinking this is really cool. And I was sending my dad like checks, like copies of checks, going, look, they pay you for this.
Yes.
Amazing stuff.
That's
right?
amazing.
When you had nothing and you weren't making anything, and all of a sudden people are paying you and using your music, and you're getting royalty statements and money. And so that really was what the turning point for me was. Wow. And and honestly, like, still confused, because I still was confused. Like, I didn't really even understand the gig when I signed my first publishing deal. I had no idea. I had a hit song on the radio and $9 in the bank.
Okay. I love that.
I had nothing. Wow. So because of that, it was a very that's how I learned, started, and And at that point, I'd already had two big syncs, which we didn't
Right.
call syncs in those days. They were just called the music placement.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And and I had produced my first major artist,
Mm.
major label artist at that time as well. So things were percolating.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's
And I was
great.
learning on the job because of course I was so green. I had no idea at all what I was doing
Right,
at
right.
all. Yeah.
That's so cool. So when you signed with your publisher and everything, was it just a matter of like they knew that you had the potential because you had this hit, you'd written this one song, and they'd taken you in, and then it was kind of like, here are other artists that want your music, or did they just set you on a treadmill to write more music to start shipping out? Like, how did that all work?
Yeah, so all of that. Like they
Yeah,
signed me because I had a hit song.
yeah,
So they didn't just sign me because they believed in me and I showed up at their doorstep and played them some music. I had a hit song
yeah.
that needed collecting money.
Right, right.
And so they signed me because of that.
Yeah,
And that was okay because I didn't know anything anyway.
yeah.
And then they set me up on lots of collaborations with other songwriters, like
Amazing.
professional songwriters who I didn't know any. I mean, you know, again,
Yeah.
I was an artist. And so they hooked me up with those people. They helped me learn how to pitch songs
Right.
because I learned, but not because they told me or taught me, because I paid
Mm-hmm.
attention to how the system started working. And I started meeting A&R people. Well, I don't actually, I take that back because I had already been with my own band. I
Right.
knew dozens of A&R people because I, with my bands, found them, invited them to my gigs. They would come. So I already knew them, but now I'm learning, oh, so these people don't only sign artists, these people use songs for their major
Yes.
artists.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I can contact these people now that I have these songs that aren't for me, that are
Mm-hmm.
normal pop songs, and I can start trying to pitch them. And that's how I kind of got my foot in the door
Yeah.
and learned a bit about the business, what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. I learned a lot about the fact that I did not want to have a publishing deal.
Okay. Okay.
Yes, I learned that very quickly. Within my second deal,
Mm-hmm.
I by in 2 years, I learned I don't want to have a publisher.
Amazing. Amazing.
Yeah, so that was also the best thing that ever happened. Like sometimes, right, we do things, and people can say, "Oh, it's so disappointing because it didn't work out. It didn't work the way it should have." No, everything works the way it should have because it taught me I don't want to do this. I
Right.
want to own my own music. I
Yeah.
want to be in control of it. I want to pitch my own music.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I learned that fast.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a huge gift.
That's so awesome. And to have it that way around and to not have had success and then suddenly step into something where someone else has more ownership over of having had you even write even more music and then suddenly someone else owns even more of you. It's yeah.
I'm going to say it's not only the ownership of the songs, but it's the control of the copyrights.
Right.
It's not that they on paper own them, it's that they control everything that can be done with them. They tell you if you can record the song or not.
Right.
They don't like something or they make you change something
Yeah.
like lyric lines or chords or melody things because it's so subjective, but they decide they don't like it, or you get the songs want to be placed in a movie or a TV show and they decide it's not enough money, they don't like the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, you've done so much work. So I learned I didn't want my music encumbered. I didn't want to be encumbered and owned, and I didn't want my music to be, because I wanted to be free to go out there and pound the pavement.
Yeah, yeah. And
Yeah.
do you think that's kind of unique to you? Do you think publishing in some instances is good for the people that maybe don't want to do that extra legwork, or do you just think it's better to just own your music outright and stay more independent? What do you think about that?
Yes, in those days, back then, 30 years ago,
Yeah.
I would say that was more inherent to me.
Yes.
I became very savvy quickly and realized I had a very good business acumen.
Nice, nice.
Right. I learned about music publishing quickly, and I learned so many things. But I think now, especially, it really behooves the songwriters to own their own music.
Yes, yes.
If one wants to be a star and be like Beyonce or Taylor Swift, one needs a record deal. I still believe in the major label system. Everybody has it, but one does not have to have a publishing deal.
Okay, okay.
Own their own publishing and control those rights. First of all, for synchronization, it is so difficult to get new songs placed, non-hit songs placed, if you have a publishing deal.
Totally.
So you need to own your own work, create those everything yourself, so that when you pitch the songs, the music supervisor can call me up, and they can call me up at midnight and say, "Oh my God, something happened. I need a song. Quick, send me something. Can I use it?" Yes, I have all that available. If I had a publisher, they would control all those rights. They would take them weeks to even deal with the situation. By the time the music supervisor, by then it has the shows aired, weeks ago. I feel that, yes, it really is best for songwriters to own their own catalogs and learn about music publishing. And yes, can it be difficult? Because, we were discussed about that. Can it be difficult? Yes. But people need to be educated.
Yeah, definitely.
To get ahead. People who are educated, because sadly, it is very rare that music publishers now and back then procured the work, the placements, and the cuts. I have only gotten a cut by a publisher once in my entire career. Once.
Wow.
And that was in 1991.
Wow.
And I'm grateful for that. It was a big major label thing, and I'm grateful about that. But every cut I've gotten, I've pitched myself. All the deals I've gotten, even thinking, I work with some music libraries and they get some work, but I pitch them to work with them.
Right.
And so it's so important to be in control and know the ins and outs of the business.
Yes.
So this is a great question. And I really am an advocate for not signing publishing deals. Look, when I signed my publishing deal, I had $9. Right. And I got a check with many, many zeros on it. So many zeros that my bank wouldn't even let me deposit the check.
Good for you.
I had $9.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So I understand the desire to get some cash.
Yeah.
And maybe you sign that first deal, and maybe you get those multiple zeros, and maybe then you learn, like I did, okay, this was good. Don't do this again.
Yeah, totally. Essentially, you got paid to go to music business school for.
You're so right. Exactly. I did. I got paid to go to school. I never thought about that. You're absolutely correct. And it was invaluable, right? Because I got money and I learned not to do this anymore. But look how valuable it was that I did it.
Totally.
Yeah, so everything has value, but I think that if you're someone who, I have a friend, someone I work with, she's very young. She's had a deal with a major publisher for a very long time, since she's maybe 16, 17, young. She cannot get out of that deal because she never can recoup it. Because there's so many stipulations, and now she's had some big Korean K-pop stuff, big major arts. It doesn't count because towards her recruitment, because it's not American.
Oh my word! I never thought about that.
So even though she might have made enough money to recoup, they won't let her out because they don't count. So this is a problem. You have to really be careful if you sign that deal, to get those zeros and pocket some money and learn something that you can get out of the deal.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you don't end up sitting there for 10 years because you
Wow.
can't recoup. So that wouldn't be a good learning experience.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Make sure you can get out of whatever you get into, unless you really, really want to get into it and you know what you're getting into.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so how did you go from writing these songs to starting to see them on TV and getting them on shows and getting people, you know, getting your songs successfully pitched out there?
Yeah, so the first two I had before I signed the publishing deal. So those were already earning royalties, and I was getting royalties. I signed with a BMI originally. Now I'm a CSAC writer, but I signed originally with BMI, and I was getting royalties from those airings from TV and from foreign box office for those that I had already had.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I signed, I had the hit song, and then I got some other cuts with major artists. And then I was only in that first deal for a very short period of time because the publishing company got bought out.
Okay, okay.
So then I signed another deal immediately. In that deal, the woman who ran the business office, she wasn't in the creative department, in the business office, connected me to the soap operas, the American soaps, the CBS Procter and Gamble soaps, which in those days were As the World Turns, Another World, and Guiding Light.
Okay.
And I ended up getting on those shows.
Nice.
And I was on Guiding Light, well, Another World 8 years until it got canceled, and Guiding Light 18 years.
Wow, wow.
Until it got canceled. So I worked on those network shows every day.
Amazing.
For 18 years. And I was not at the publishing company anymore.
Right.
That only lasted a year, but this woman connected me, and I was really good at networking.
Mm-hmm.
So when somebody connected me, I took advantage of it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, you connect them and they don't even contact the person, or they don't even, right? Like, you know, we were connected and we made friends and took advantage of that. And that has always been, for me, the way to go. And so that's how I started getting those cuts. And then I started knowing about other shows, because that gig with those soaps was very, very lucrative.
Right.
And I really did not have to do anything else.
Yeah.
I could have just sat and not work. People would say to me, why are you working so hard? You have this gig. And I'd be like, because someday this gig is going to be gone.
Yeah.
And then where would I be? And of course, the gig did go away.
Yeah.
And so I was building my little world, you know, learning who the music supervisors are, who's working on shows. And back then, in those days, this is like 1993, 94, there were 10, 20 music supervisors.
Right.
There was none of them. It was also a gig that didn't exist. It was nobody wanted to do write for sing.
Right. Okay.
People thought it was low class.
Okay.
Songwriters felt it was very low class. They did not want to write for the movies and the TV shows. They did not want to be involved in that.
Wow.
They wanted to write for artists.
Mm-hmm.
And the collaborators of mine who were reaping the benefits of my sync deals, because I was placing the songs, went, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ding, ding.
Like they get their royalty statement and they go,
wow.
Okay, maybe this is a good idea. And so, but back then there was a handful of music supervisors. No one did that job. No one wanted that job. No one cared. And those music supervisors actually mostly are running major Netflix and Hulu's now. You know, a lot of them are still working, but they've become, you know, super. And so that's what happened. I learned how to pitch the songs, and I learned to become a go-to for them. The market was not flooded with music creators trying to do it and get syncs. And that didn't happen until well into the 2000s. So it was amazing, like how much work there was to be had.
Yes.
Yeah, in that, and also because I owned my own publishing, which most people didn't.
Yeah, yeah.
Professional songwriters were all signed to publishers, and the publishers were getting in the way of placing the songs.
Right. How do you feel about like co-writing? Does co-writing, when it comes to, you know, the incumbents of getting songs out there and stuff, do you feel like when you co-write, are you kind of like, this is gonna clog things up with getting the music out, or do you co-write a lot? How do you feel about that?
So I don't co-write a lot. I have some main collaborators, one in particular who I've been writing with for 42 years, my main collaborator. But in the past, yes, I did a lot of collaborating and always discussing first, where will the songs be used? Mm-hmm. Do you agree to this? Now, in this day and age that's become so litigious, yes, I have paperwork saying, you know, before I write with somebody, you have to agree that I'm going to pitch these songs for media, and I can pitch them on behalf of both of us. It's called One Stop, and I don't have to seek your approval, and you're agreeing up front. If you want to write with me, this is okay. And you have to agree and tell me that you don't have a publishing deal, and you have to agree that you are not going to put this song into a publishing deal if you write with me. So I have a lot of stipulations. Before you come in my door, we are not even going to write until we've ironed all this business out, because I don't want to write songs that become encumbered. It's one thing when I work with a major artist, and I do write with major label artists, and then I know the songs are going to be encumbered. Right. But that's okay, because I know that. But if I'm writing with a new writer, or just not new, but, you know, a peer of mine, they could be around for decades. But if they don't want to agree to these situations, or if they have a publishing deal, I will not write with them. And encumber the songs, because of this. I do have songs in my catalog that are encumbered like that, and it's very irritating. Right? They just sit there, and I know they would be great for something,
but you just can't.
I can't pitch them. So I had a poor student that happened to. She probably had 150 songs, and her co-writer was so difficult and irritating that the songs are dead.
It's so true.
So because of that, so I'm very careful about who I co-write with, and all the particulars that go into that.
Totally, just covering it all. So when you started, there was a handful of people who were pitching, or you were pitching to, and all this kind of stuff. Now it seems like a bit of a free for all out there. It seems also like there's a lot of people taking advantage of people too. There's a lot of kind of pay to pitch your music, or pay to submit your songs, and it's a bit like the Wild West out there again right now. What are your directions? Like, give us a guiding light in the madness. What do you suggest to people who are writing and want to get into this? And should they go online and pay to put their songs somewhere, or what should people be doing? Okay, so I believe no, never. Do not pay to pitch. You know that. Okay, but so many people don't. Even just yesterday, a student in my course who takes my course asked me about it. Oh my God. Sent me a link to a platform. I told her no. Of course, you know, you can do whatever you want. I can't stop doing anything, but no. Paying to pitch, be it $5, $30, $20, however much it is not okay. It's not okay. And then people will say, well, you know, but I there's meetings where I pay $75 to go meet a music supervisor. Well, I don't believe in that either, to be honest with you. But at least if you do that, you're meeting with them. They're in front of you. You're not just sending a song and someone randomly is sending you a critique. At least, you know, you're meeting them. But no, don't pay to pitch. Just don't. It's horrible. Yes, it's just the chances of getting the placement are small. Most of the time when you're pitching, it's very fast. Things are needed quickly. Those take forever. And they just don't pan out. I believe it's just the companies are pocketing a lot of money. There's one company in particular that hasn't had any sings. I mean, they have connected
the creators and the performers for gigs to
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
perform gigs and other services, but they've not had any placements.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And so I, no, don't do that. I mean, you have to build your own network. You know, of
Right.
course, like I teach a course, so I say, take my course.
Yes, which you should. Everyone listening, we're gonna plug the living daylights out of this course because you should.
Well, thank you. Then that's not even why we're here, but I'm
Yeah,
saying, you know, to take a course,
yeah, yeah,
it'll fast track you. It'll make it faster for you.
yeah,
You don't have to do that.
yeah,
But I'm only saying that, you know, I've learned everything slowly over 42 years of falling on my face,
yeah.
right? This will fast track you if you
Yes.
learn about stuff, be it my course, someone's course, whatever, somebody reputable who really does this. You
Yeah.
know, you don't want to take a
Yes.
course from in a university where the teacher hasn't ever pitched a song.
Right.
That's not really optimum, but you have to pay attention as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was saying, you know, I learned because I was soaking it up. I was just paying attention to what how music publishing works, how
Yes.
licensing works, how getting to people works, how, and it is like you're saying, the market is much more flooded now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But that said, 30 years ago, there were a handful of shows and movies being
Right.
made, and
Right.
now there are gazillions. So there's more
Yes.
creators, but there's more product being made.
Totally.
So right. Even, you know, Diane Warren doesn't have enough time in the day to write the songs,
Yeah.
enough
Yeah.
songs to
Yeah.
fill every need. There's just so many needs, and the opportunities are endless for people.
Yes.
Like there's so much opportunity if people go about it the right way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And they have to be active about it because the
Yes.
problem is that most people are lazy, especially musicians and songwriters and artists. We're lazy people.
Yes.
We just want to make music and we don't want to engage. But putting our music in passive places is not going to do it. So in other words, there are lots of music libraries and I love them, and I put songs in music libraries and I get placements from music libraries. That's awesome. And now there's all these AI companies and but we have to diversify, and the key is to learn how to pitch directly. Right. Like if you, Emma, are a music supervisor, then I need to know you, and I need to make friends with you, and I need to send songs to you. I need to not rely on, oh, well, my songs are in a music library. Maybe that music library will passively pitch those songs, get me some placements, mailbox money, meaning it shows up in my royalties. That's not, we have to be proactive.
Yeah. Make it a job. Like make it your career. Don't just do it. So the music that you write, is it mainly instrumentals, or do you work with singers, or do you sing stuff? Like how does that work? What sort of
I do all three.
Okay.
Mostly I write vocals music.
Okay.
The least I write are instrumentals.
Okay.
The instrumentals that I have are because there were vocals.
Okay.
They are vocal songs.
Right.
Yes. And I do sing on some of them, but I don't sing on obviously the male songs.
Okay.
And I don't sing if I'm something supposed to sound like Aretha when I, sound like Madonna. I sing what is correct for me. But I mostly hire singers. Or I write with an artist who's a singer.
Okay.
And they sing it.
Nice.
So that's it. It really varies. And sometimes I write on a project where the people who hire me, because I do a lot of projects for hire, have the singers lined up that I'm supposed to use.
Awesome.
Yeah, so it really varies. But mostly vocal music.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from a singer perspective, how would a singer get involved to work with someone who does this kind of stuff?
Oh, well, there's so much work for singers. Nice. I always tell singers they can contact me. I hire singers all the time. Yeah. Amazing. But I only work, I don't work virtually. If I work with a singer, they have to be in Los Angeles in my studio with me so I can produce them. I'm very hands-on about that. But not everyone is. Like I have students who hire singers in the UK.
Wow. Yeah. Very
and
cool.
different singers, and they send their files back. So for singers right now, there's a lot of opportunity. I would tell singers they really should be able to record their own vocals. If someone will work with them virtually, they need to know how to tune them, time them, make them all beautiful. So there's so much opportunity to hire singers.
That's
yes,
amazing.
yeah, and I love meeting new singers.
Wonderful. This is so inspirational and motivational, because it's not just like, well, if you're lucky, it's there. It's like, if you put the work in and you learn how to produce your vocals, say, for example, if a singer is listening, wants to learn more about that, if you learn how to produce your vocals at home, which now is not like how it used to be, you don't need a studio reel to reel and a massive desk and everything. You can just plug an app in and off you go.
Right.
Like, you can learn all of these things. And like the publishing as well, people, I think when people hear things like copyright and masters and all of these things, suddenly their brain just shuts down and it's like, no, too much.
Right. And that's so important, is not to shut down. For instance, I was on a meeting today with a group that I work with, that I mentor, and some of the the artists were having trouble describing what they sound like.
Okay.
Well, that's insane.
Yeah.
Okay. You can't glaze over about that. As an artist, you have to know who you sound like. Everybody sounds like something.
Yeah.
The reason why you have to know what that is, because you have to be of service to the music supervisors that you are working with, or the A&R people. And if they're looking for an artist that sounds like Bjork, you have to know, do you fit that? Right? Because if you sound like Aretha and you send them your music, that is not going to be good.
Yeah.
But these people are like, oh, I don't know what I sound like. Oh, well, just get over it.
Yeah.
Just identify what you sound like. Don't tell me, oh, I don't know what genre I work in. Come on, people, just then hybrid it and say I do soul, hip hop, alternative. Call it something. We have to be proactive.
Yes.
We have to know what we do. We have to know how we can be of service. And then the opportunities are endless. Like you were saying, it's very inspirational, because I do not believe that there's no opportunity. Like people say, oh, it's so hard, it's so hard, it's so hard. Yes, it's so hard because you're so lazy.
Yes. Thank you.
Yes. If you're not late, like you created this podcast here, right?
Yes,
I don't have a podcast. Why? Because I'm probably too lazy to create a podcast. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes,
There are things that we all gravitate towards that we're good at and not good at. But the thing is that if we want to do it, then we have to just do it. Right? Just make your podcast.
Totally. Go do it. Learn the equipment you need.
Yes, learn so you have to learn about music publishing if you want to license your songs. You can't just be throwing songs out there and think people are going to find them. You can't just put them up on Spotify and use CD Baby and think people are going to come to you.
Yep.
You have to be proactive and get yourself out there. And there are so many ways to do it. If you pay attention, if you learn how, and sometimes it takes money to learn how, but we all have to invest in ourselves.
Totally. It's better to invest in yourself than to lose money because you didn't know what you were doing.
Yeah, exactly. Like once I was investing in stocks.
Right.
I lost so much money. I can't even tell you. Like I had no idea what I was doing. Oh, no. And then I learned, don't do this.
Yeah, this is not my thing.
So again, maybe it was invaluable because I lost all that money to learn not to do that. But at the same point, it would have been more optimum if I was really interested in it, to learn first and then invest the money.
Yes.
Yeah. But if you can't just like do stuff if you don't know how to do it.
Totally.
And you can't make great music if your ears aren't attuned to it. And if you haven't learned how to listen and hear, and to me it's very inspiring. And also for me, people say, oh well, you have all these credits and blah blah blah, it's easy for you. Well, that is not true, because I tried to make them understand, I am very boring to people. They all know me. I usually have more success with somebody I don't know.
Okay.
Because I know I have 3,000 music supervisors and like 800 A&R guys in my database.
Yeah.
And gals. And these people, they're like, yeah, 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 that's nice. We know her. She's great. What else do you have?
Right, right.
Right? Who's that Emma girl? We
Yeah,
don't know Emma. Come bring her to us. They
right.
want to find something new. So
Hmm.
yeah, if they're in a real pinch and it's midnight, like I was saying before,
Yeah,
they're gonna call me because it's quick and easy, and I have my ducks in a row and the
totally.
paperwork and all of that. But if they have a minute, they really want to discover new artists.
Yes.
That's why at the Grammys every year there's best new
Yeah,
artists.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because everybody wants new
New.
stuff. So
Hmm.
it's not always the tried and true because people say, "Oh, there's no room for me. It's all been done." But it is
Right.
not true. It's
Yeah.
just excuses,
Totally.
right?
Yes, yes, it
And
really
I'm
is.
all about no excuses. You can't make excuses. Nobody cares, sadly, if your dog died.
Right, right.
Nobody cares.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times like no one has cared about
Right.
anything, and you have to be prepared. It's business,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
you
It
know?
really is. It really is. It's an interesting business, and it really takes a certain type of person to thrive in it. I feel like we're almost like people who get really excited by the music industry and the music business are almost like competitive gamblers. It's like you need that adrenaline and that unpredictability and that excitement, but also just like you need to really know the game to be able to be successful. So it's it's fun. You
I
got
think you do. I mean, my dad will tell people when they ask him, what does your daughter do for a living? He says she plays the lottery
yeah.
because that's how he sees this. But it's more than that because you have to have more strategy, like you're
Yes.
saying. You have to have
Yes.
more education.
Mm-hmm.
And, I've mentored so many people who are doing so well. But yet I'm also sometimes disappointed and sad that so many of them don't pay attention. I'm
Right.
like, we discussed that. We talked
Yes.
about it in class. Didn't you pay attention? Why are you
Right.
doing that? That I take so personally. It's hard because I want people to pay attention,
Mm-hmm.
so they can, like for me, I just have ingested all this stuff. It's part of
Yeah.
my DNA.
Yes.
I want
Yes.
them to do that. And I have a few students who are making a killing out there because they've
Amazing.
done that.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've paid attention and they've learned how to do it properly and
Yes.
well. And then there's the lazy ones.
They say I paid to do this course, and therefore it's all just going to happen for me at the day.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And that's so sad too. It's,
It
you have
is.
to put in the work, you have to do the
Totally.
homework, you have to show up.
Yes.
You know,
Yes.
it's really interesting.
It
But
is, but on the flip side, you're in control, right? You can be in control if you put in the work. If you learn it, you put in the work, you put in the effort. You can totally be in control of it, and it's
totally.
less of a lottery, and you can do it. So, Michele, tell us a bit about the course that you do and everything that you are doing. We've crossed paths, and I've attended a few of your online sessions, and I'm just blown away. First of all, I love you because you're like no bullshit. You like straight to, you will call people out when they're being fluffy and they're asking, and you will say, we've talked about this.
Oh yeah, I drive my students crazy because I'm always saying, well, we discussed this, but yes, I'm from New York. I'm totally tough. I'm from New York
Right.
City, and
Yeah.
I get myself in a lot of trouble because I'm not very censored.
Right.
I
Right.
don't believe that that's useful, and I
No.
also believe I've reached a point in my career, well, where it almost doesn't matter anymore
Yeah.
how much I upset someone because I really want to help other people,
Yeah.
and by not being transparent
Mm-hmm.
and being full of BS,
Yeah.
we are not helping anybody,
No. No.
right?
No.
We're not giving them the real deal. And that is not who I am. If you're going to ask me something, I'm going to tell you the truth.
Yes.
And so that's what I do. And yeah, so I mentor, I speak a lot, I mentor a lot. Sometimes I'm at somewhere where it's free,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm not getting paid.
Yeah.
And I do that a lot
Yeah.
here
Yeah.
today, right? I'm trying to help people.
It's
I'm speaking
amazing.
at the NAM show. I speak at different things, right? It's on my own time, my own dime. I'm not getting paid and I care so much and I want to give back. And sometimes I do give courses, I do get paid. And people say, well, you know what? I get paid so little that it doesn't even cover the time it takes out for me to help people. People have to be invested in themselves because people don't pay attention when they don't pay for it. That is what I have learned over all these decades. And so I teach a 16-week course. It's called From Song to Sync and More. The and more is because I also teach people outside of sync how to get cuts with major label artists, how to work with on Broadway, how to work with retail, how to greeting card, everything that's involved, not just sync. How all about music publishing and metadata and all the roles of the players involved and how to build your network. And I teach everything in the course. I also teach with a friend of mine, Mark Freezer from the Sync Summit, who I recommend people join his group, a 4-week metadata class.
Love it.
It's very short, but it's intensive metadata. And the people who should take this course are people who already know a little bit and have a catalog so they can really use this information. So I do that. Every month I give a live Q&A. And for my students of my course, it's free. But for people from the outside, it's only $47 US. And they can come. It usually lasts 2-3 hours or more, however long it takes to get through all the questions. I don't leave anybody without getting their questions answered. And I help them learn stuff about what it is they're trying to organize in their music business or about their music creatively. In my course, I also teach about creative stuff like what makes a great song and all that kind of stuff.
Love it.
So these are the things that I do for mentoring. And I actually teach at a song school called songu.com, where twice a month I give a song critique class.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, and people come and they can join Song U, which is an amazing resource for songwriters. And they can come bring their songs to class. It's included in their tuition. And I do creative critiquing because in my course, I do that as well a little bit if people send me a song, but pretty much my course is business oriented, more business oriented. So it's fun to do the creative as well. So that's basically what I do in terms of the education.
I love it. It's amazing. And I love what you're doing. Honestly, I can't say it enough. Like from the very first time I saw you speaking on Zoom, it was just like, yeah, I love her, because there's a lot of fluff out there. There's a lot of people just saying buzzwords to green musicians and taking their money, and it's just like, no, I'm like, no, she knows what she's talking about. This is fantastic. It's so
nice. Thank you, because it means so much to me. You know, I don't want to put fluff out there. I want people to get educated and people to understand and really feel how much opportunity there is if you know what's going on. I don't put out any fluff. In fact, you know, so I get hate mail because people say, why did you say that? And why did you
totally.
That's the truth. That is the truth. I'm very low tech. I'm not going to teach a course about NFTs and tech stuff and artificial intelligence. If I ever give a course like that, don't take it. You know, that's insane. Anybody who knows me knows, you know, this is my phone. I don't. Okay, don't take a tech course with me. You know, we should not be teaching things that we don't know.
I know.
Right? Right?
Yes, it's so true.
And that's really important. So I know what I know, and some people have gotten angry because, you know, I say something because they don't know, and they're teaching this course. And I'm like, what are you thinking? You know.
Oh my God. I love you. You're like me. I get into so much trouble because I'm like, it's out there now. I'm like, I don't come with a rewind button, unfortunately.
What can we do? You know, we should be proud of ourselves for giving people the real deal. Because if you're going to do a podcast and you're not honest and real like you are right now, then what's the point?
Totally. It's like,
he gets help.
I have a lot of sort of entrepreneur friends who spend a fortune with business coaches, and I use that in quotation marks. I'm like, what tell me about their successful business that they're coaching you on. It's like, well, their coaching business is successful. It's like, so the money that you give them to tell you stuff that they've made up about business that's their successful business. It's like, no, they should have like an empire to be telling you what to do. Like,
yeah, you're so right. I mean, that's so funny. They're absolutely, that's so funny, because I do know some people who do those coaching courses, and that's
where that is their business. It's like, no,
that is their business. You're right, though. That's so funny. It's not like a specific thing.
Totally.
Yeah. And now the market is kind of flooded with courses. Yes. So, and the one thing that I don't like to do is market my course.
Right.
Because that's not my thing. So people kind of hear about it word by mouth, maybe me mentioning it today, coming up to me and asking me, do you teach anything?
Yeah.
I kind of don't market things much, because I feel like the world is flooded right now with all day long me getting, take this course, you get this free benefit and that value of this. And I don't like it. I know that my students will tell you that they're doing amazing stuff.
Yes, that all speaks for itself, the success of your students, which is fantastic. So
yeah. But we just want to leave it for everybody that the opportunities are endless out there, right? Yes. For singers and songwriters and music creators, and for anybody, for artists, for everybody.
Yes.
There's so much that can be done if we don't just sit here and moan and groan that it's not possible.
Sometimes when we're just starting out or whatever, the music community is kind of small, and the bigger you get, your community is, everyone knows everyone, and it all feels like, well, if that person just had the success with that, well, there's no more space for me. It's that kind of abundance thing going on. It's like, no, there's something for everyone, for the right thing. That's what it's all about. So. Exactly. Thank you so much for taking all this time to talk with me. This has just been so fantastic. It's so where can people find you? What's your website? And
so my website is very old, but it's sweetersongs.com. SWEETERSONGS, sweetersongs.com. But I'm very easy to find. If people just Google my name, you'll find just thousands of things about me, and you're welcome to give out my email address to anybody who wants to contact me. They're totally welcome to, and I'd be happy to talk to them and direct them to any course or anybody. Or today somebody wrote me asking me for a mastering engineer, and I was happy to give that information. And it's not benefiting me, it's but for them. They wrote me and they asked me, and so I'm always happy to do that.
I love that. Thank you. I will put the link to your website in the show notes as well.
And on my YouTube channel, there's a lot of free interviews and things like this that we did today of other questions that might be of interest to them, and there's no charge for that. They can just go and watch them.
Michele, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been really cool, and I just love learning from you.
Oh, it's so fun. Thank you for having me. It was really great. Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. I hope you enjoyed it. Please feel free to like, share, subscribe, and if you feel inclined to leave a review, I truly appreciate it. You can check out all things voice at rockitvocalstudios.com. That's ROCKIT vocalstudios.com, and follow me on social too at Rocket Vocal Studios. Thanks again for listening, and I'll be back with lots more for you very soon.